Find your mouthpiece and put on your jock straps. It's the Sports Blitz with Doug and Robbie.
Okay, how long is your show?
You guys have such a great setup.
Listen, if you're under a rock or if you're in a cave, come on out and listen to our episode.
It was fun talking baseball. I love talking Red Sox. I love talking coaching.
I don't care because I would rather there not be an MLB season than have to sit and watch the colossal embarrassment.
Hey, hello, I am Bloom. Yeah, it's Doug and Robbie from the Sports Blitz. I just wanted to find out whether you need some pitching.
There you go. In 5, 4, 3.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Sports Blitz. Yes, we are back, and folks, I gotta tell you right off the top, it is going to be a fire episode tonight. I can already sense it. It is going to be absolute craziness and just sports podcast gold tonight. As always, I'm Robbie. We've got Doug here as well. Doug, how are you tonight, my man?
Doing well. Well, rather be under a rock right now or, kind of somewhere else on the planet. Maybe with Be Smooth down in Atlanta because there's nothing going on with nothing controversial going on down in Atlanta that I know of.
Yeah.
But you never know. But no, I'm doing well. I'm doing good, and this is this is what it is. It is what it is right now. But if you're in a cave, I would go back. Don't come out until at least the weekend. So
Right.
It is what it is. But I'm good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that you're good.
Not excited to talk about this subject, but hey, listen, we're sports podcasters, so we have to go where the stories are. So here we go.
Yeah, and just a quick sort of programming note / sort of breaking the fourth wall here to you folks at home. You're probably noticing or wondering why sort of Doug and I are bouncing around between screens rather than sort of right next to each other like we usually are. That is because sometimes Zoom and my computer have a love-hate relationship, and tonight definitely would be a night that would err on the side of hate, and so just having a few technical glitches, we just decided just to go with a alternative form on my end of recording, just so to be able to get the episode done in one take and not have to constantly be bouncing back and forth. So I just wanted to sort of point out for the folks at home, if you're used to our usual sort of format, why it looks a little bit different tonight. But we're still here, and we're very excited to be here. And we're also very excited, Doug. I'm segueing here. I don't know how good of a segue it is, but we are also excited to have our two amazing sponsors for tonight's episode. Before we get into why this episode is just going to be off the wall tonight, why don't you tell the people about our sponsors for tonight's episode?
Yes, our two sponsors are the sponsors that have been sponsoring us for a while, which is really great. The first one is Zyman Organizing. If you're feeling overwhelmed with a room, closet, cabinet, drawer, talk to Robbie, he knows. Contact Zyman Organizing, and they will work with you to create a stress-free room and a stress-free time. What I like about them is that they actually, part of it is organizing and part of it's about maintaining. It's about keeping it the way it should be, or keeping it organized. They help you do that. That's what I like about it. Just remember, Zyman Organizing, creating a stress-free home. And the second one is, I'm just going to mention it because I'm kind of all foggy in the back here. It's kind of woo. But this is his book. I'll put it in front of my face.
Yeah, you can see it perfectly there. So there you go.
Yeah, it's right in front of my face, which is even better. This is called I Have Anxiety, So What? It's a book by Wes Woodson. It is really, really good. I'm still enjoying it. Wes has had some anxiety for most of his life, and he's out there talking about it.
Yeah.
in different cities. He was on TED Talk. He did go to Babson College, but he was on TED Talk, and he's been out there just discussing it and making awareness of it. And it's really super important, especially when you see, what has happened in sports today. You have people that have anxiety, and it's really important just to talk about it in general, and not to just brush it off. It's super important. So, Wes is our second um, sponsor for this Sports Blitz episode. Back to you, Robbie.
Thank you, Doug. And thank you to our sponsors as well. We always appreciate their support for not just this show, but also Marvel at the Movies and On a Couch Talking Sports as well. Obviously, our pal Kyle involved heavily in those other two shows with Doug on Marvel at the Movies and with myself on a Couch. So big shout out to Kyle as well. Definitely got to throw that in there. But yeah, listen, tonight's episode. So to sort of pull back the curtain, the fourth wall, whatever you want to call it, behind the scenes here, Doug and I, about 24 hours ago, actually had a different idea on how tonight's episode was going to go. We had two other topics that we were planning on talking about. And in the last 24 hours, literally, the Boston sports media, the national sports media, and Boston sports Twitter has blown up. And so I got on the phone last night with Doug, probably about 10:30, 11 when the news first broke, and said we need to sort of just take the other two topics and just sort of throw them right off to the side, because we definitely need to go full tilt, diving headfirst into this particular piece of news, despite the fact that we may not want to, but it is important because we are a Boston sports podcast first and foremost. So definitely, if we didn't talk about this, you all probably would have thought we were crazy. So, which we might be, but so we decided to go for it. And that is the news that Celtics coach Ime Udoka is facing disciplinary action from the team for what was first reported and subsequently it's sort of been elaborated on as a violation of organizational guidelines. And of course, when that news broke late last night from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, the Woj.
Let's call him Woj because his name.
Sure, yeah, Woj for short. Boston sports Twitter just went out a big collective "what?" and just sort of, again, as I said, it kind of blew up. And it more has come out, obviously, in the last 24 hours. Basically, to sum it all up, Ime Udoka reportedly had a relationship with a staff member on the Celtics.
Consensual.
Consensual, yep, absolutely, 100% consensual.
It has been reported that it was consensual.
Yeah. Nope, definitely gotta clarify that. Absolutely. Thank you, Doug. But yeah, he had a consensual relationship with a staff member who was a fellow staff member within the organization, which again violates Celtics organizational guidelines. And so according to the latest report, they're going to be bringing down the hammer on Ime Udoka with a,
my goodness, a Thor reference.
Season-long.
Sorry.
I know, seriously, Marvel at the Movies apparently is rubbing off on me.
That's awesome.
Kyle would be proud, right?
Would.
But anyway, a season-long suspension is what has been reported. Again, nothing has been officially announced by the Celtics themselves. This is all, reporting, mainly Woj reporting, especially within the last few hours, where he has said that basically all sources indicate that it will be a season-long suspension, announced at any time now, according to, again, what is being reported. So I've got my breaking news notifications ready to go here, just in case any news breaks.
Well, Robbie, the other thing that came out was the fact that there was a report. I think Shams put it out Tim Sharania put it out. He's also an NBA insider, but I think he put it out
Yeah.
that there was going to be a possible resignation by
But I
Ime
heard
Udoka.
I
Was
know
thinking
that
about it.
they were
It's not
yeah,
going to happen.
right.
But it was just reported that it was going to be either a suspension, which it probably will be, or Ime was actually thinking about resigning. So,
Okay.
and that's not going to
Yeah.
happen. That's
Right.
not something
Yeah,
that's
I've
going to happen.
seen
But that was
follow-up
reported.
report. Yeah. Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I think for the last 24 hours, I've basically just been sitting in a constant state of just stunned silence, almost, other than talking to you about it, because it's just been crazy how this has just blown up over the last 24 hours, on top of like all the other negative Celtics news that I feel like has come out within the last month. You had, Dario Gallinari, injure himself and is going to miss, I believe, the season. And then you had the announcement, may have been either earlier this week or last week. I think it was last week, that Robert Williams is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks undergoing a procedure. 4 to 6, sorry, yeah, 4 to 6, yeah, weeks after undergoing a procedure on his knee injury that he has been dealing with. As many of you know, he missed some time in the playoff run last season due to that injury. So, just something else to add on to the heap of not so great Celtics news in this 2022 offseason. Doug, let's get into it. As much as we don't want to, but we're gonna do it for the fans. Just give me when you first saw it. I know you and I texted pretty much right after this news broke. I think I texted you right after I saw the initial breaking story from Woj. What was your reaction just initially? Before all the sort of the details have sort of trickled out over the last 24 hours. Just give us your sort of very initial reaction to the news that broke overnight last night.
I was actually waiting for more Celtics news because I thought the whole Celtics team was going to be, there was going to be just one after the other. Jason Tatum in practice, breaks his middle finger, trying to throw it up to, he was trying to give Jaylen Brown the middle finger, and all of a sudden he jammed it, and now he's out for not significant time, but just enough to heal the finger that broke. Jaylen Brown, as he's looking at Jason Tatum, giving him the finger, he's looking away. He smashes right into Marcus Smart, and it looks like he may have some kind of what they call in hockey an upper body injury, and then because Marcus Smart was closing his eyes as he smashed into that, and Jaylen Brown smashed into Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart goes down, falls back, and tries to stop himself with his elbow, and all of a sudden, Marcus Smart's elbow is now hurting and wanted to know what's going on. So I just think that there was going to be, this whole, next, what's next, kind of situation. And it was kind of, I actually had to just sit there for a few minutes and go, okay, what's next? What are we dealing with next? That's kind of what I had to think about. Not as worried about Robert Williams, because Robert Williams is only a 4 to 6 weeks. Supposedly, it's just a cleaning of the knee. Supposedly, there may be some pain there, so that maybe he re-injured it, but not as bad. So, hopefully he'll be able to stay on the court. So, and what's that going to do? The issue I have is that media day is Monday.
I know. Training camp opens on Tuesday. On
Tuesday. My first thought was, what's going to happen next? My second thought was, this is really, really bad timing. Really bad timing for this. Those are
Yeah.
my two thoughts.
Yeah, and you wonder how long they knew about this. I mean, obviously, I'm sure this didn't just happen overnight, obviously. So
From the
you wonder,
report I heard, Brad Stevens has known this for a couple days, and
yeah,
the team was notified
yeah.
about what was going on. I think it was maybe 24 hours before we got the notice about what's going on.
And by
So
the
the team
way,
knew about it.
by the way, you know, not to gloss over this fact or anything, but Ime Udoka has, or at least had, a fiance, actually very well known fiance, actress Nia Long, who apparently, from the latest that I had read, I don't know, Doug, if you read anything different, but it appears as though they actually separated right before this all came out, is the latest that I heard about before the news broke. So
Yeah,
uh,
I heard the same thing. From what I know, that they were just partners. They have been together since 2010, so they've been around for a long time. Been around since 2010 together.
yeah,
They did decide to get married just recently, I believe.
yeah,
And I believe that there was a separation just recently. I think.
yeah.
I don't know that for a fact. I don't
I'm just
have
going
any
on from
idea,
what
but
I
yeah, I
have
mean,
seen
this is
reported.
just stuff we've already heard, so it's
Yeah,
not stuff that we're making
but
up.
still, just
So
definitely adds to another, and that adds another layer to it in a sense. And you definitely feel bad for her, with this news breaking. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I heard the news, and I was stunned, because obviously, you hear the breaking news saying, "Oh, Ime Udoka facing possible disciplinary action, for violating an organizational guideline," and it was such a vague initial report that you're just like, well, you're more just, what is it, like, what happened, like, what you're trying to, like, wrap your mind around, like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, did he punch somebody in the face? Like, what exactly does that all mean? Like, and then, you've got all the speculating, and people on Twitter just going nuts over just that initial report, and then there's like nothing. There's nothing, for a few hours at least. There's nothing kind of to back that up, not to back that up, but to um sort of build off of that. So you're just left in sort of this constant state of a cliffhanger. And then you wake up this morning to the elaboration that is, it was a relationship with a staffer, and now there's looking at a season-long suspension and all this stuff. It's like, wow, your jaw just drops. It's like, this is really happening. It's like, this is, you don't know what to think is this, but you also just cannot believe your eyes. Like, this is this guy that led you to an Eastern Conference title in the NBA Finals just a few short months ago. All of a sudden, now you're facing the prospect of, because of his actions, watching the team this coming season without him on the sidelines. And it's just like, it was definitely a lot to process. And it still is a lot to process. And I think until we get the official announcement, you still kind of feel like you're on this cliffhanger of just like, what is it going to be like? Somebody just tell me something definitive here. And it's going to be very interesting to see, once the official decision gets handed down, what happens after that, even from a blowback point of view. But yeah, my first, this goes to show you a lot the fact that literally the first thing that I did after I saw the news was I texted Doug, and I'm like, "Hey, did you see this? Like, we've got a situation here." And I think your initial reaction was like, just wow, or what, or something incredulous.
I believe it was WTF.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was that too.
That was my first reaction, and I was also, Robbie, trying to figure out. I was saying to myself, wait a minute.
Doug said literally WTF, the basketball gods do not want the Celtics to win. That was his exact quote from last night.
Yep, exactly. So my other thought is when I heard the report this morning about the possibility of a 1-year suspension, I was a little taken back by that. And I guess I was taken back by it, but because I mean, there have been guys that have fought on the court at practice. There are guys that have, pushed people and pushed coaches and done things that they weren't supposed to.
Right.
Not too many coaches have a year suspension.
Yeah.
And have thought about a year suspension over this kind of thing. We're talking physical harm versus, as far as we know, non-physical harm.
Right.
But my first thought is that I don't, and hearing reports all day and watching different reports. I watched Stephen A. I watched a couple other people, several other people, Chat Sports, and love those guys. Those guys are actually down in Dallas, but they have a Celtics fan page. Be Smooth, our friend from Atlanta, Be Smooth got on and started talking about it sometime this evening. So it's out there, and a lot of people are talking about it. But my factor is, and listening to what they're saying too, is that I'm a little dumbfounded. I'm trying to figure out whether there's more to this than is actually being reported.
Yeah.
And maybe it's confidentiality. Maybe we'll never know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Don't know that. I'm not going to speculate.
No.
But if you think about it, a year is, 50 games would be, to me, it would be a lot. Now, I'm not justifying what he did at all, especially if you break a rule. If you break a rule, you break a rule, and there's got to be consequences to that rule that you break. I just think it's super harsh. That's why I'm thinking this. There's something else there, and some of the guys from a broadcast, Bobby Manning is part of that broadcast. Some of those guys were talking about they didn't want to go there too much, but they were talking about kind of different things, and some of the things they were talking about, I kind of put down. Stuff like, was this person who he had a relationship with, did she fear for her job? Was this predatory? And I'm not going there, but I'm just telling you what I heard.
Yeah. Right.
Intimidation. Told not to. What was Ime told? He did it once. He was told not to do it, and he did it again and again and again, and they found out. And was he given warnings? But those are the kinds of things that kind of popped into my head and popped into these guys, the guys on this particular Celtics podcast. This is what popped into their head too. They weren't going there either, and I'm not going to either. But it's interesting how it's a year.
Yeah,
that's a lot of time. We all make mistakes. We all deserve second chances. Well, most of us make small mistakes. Yes, I think we deserve second chances.
Right.
Those of us who do crimes of different. And this is not a crime. I'm not saying it's a crime, but I'm saying those who.
I totally get it,
those who do really bad crimes like murder and stuff, they probably don't deserve a second chance.
I think
depending on the circumstance,
goes out the window.
Yeah. I mean, depending on the circumstance, but they weren't going to go there. But they mentioned it, so I think it's important that we mention it too, because I think I want to know what your opinion is, Robbie. I think it's a lot of time.
I totally agree, especially if it truly is. If it truly, I mean, and I don't have any reason to doubt that it isn't. If it truly is a consensual relationship, and it's just the fact that it was within the organization, I think it is a very, very harsh punishment because, just to put in perspective, if this had been somebody outside of the Celtics organization, this had happened with, then I don't even think this is really a story. I don't think we may not even find out about it. If we do, it may be, kind of like, oh, what was Ime thinking? But definitely isn't rising to the level of, causing him to miss time at his job because of it. So, I mean, and again, that's why, I think you'd agree, Doug, you don't want to speculate too much. You kind of want to hear the official announcements or see where the chips fall there, because from what we've been hearing, at least, I completely agree with the fact that this just seems like such a just over the top punishment, which leads me to wonder, like, is there more that we don't know about? Like what is going on, to the point that what on the surface looks like a possible, if nothing else, just office romance now turns into a season-long suspension. Like, I definitely need more information to sort of reconcile those two things being involved in the same sentence, if in fact, that is 100% what this is in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And the other thing is that on the flip side of it, I totally understand why the rules in place. The rules in place, the rules, that particular rule and other rules are in place for a reason.
Yeah.
Having someone, in his power, stature, being a head coach in the NBA, and to have a relationship with, a staffer is just not a good situation at all. And the
Right.
reason it isn't is because of all those things that I just said.
Yeah.
Is that there's a there's a structure that you have to kind of follow in these kinds of and let me tell you, Celtics are a company. They're a company, and they have a structure and they have rules. And if you break the rules, you need to have consequences.
It's like any business or organization. I mean, it's very true. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think at this point, and again, it's funny, anytime my phone goes off, I keep like glancing over, being like, oh, is this it? Are we about to get like the official word? I'm like waiting for we haven't had like this big a breaking news potential for during an episode recording, I think, ever. So I'm like waiting with bated breath here. But I think I just need an official announcement to get not closure, but really to just sort of get a sense of, okay, this is official now. Now let's sort of go off of what's official and make judgments, if you want to call it that, or sort of base our opinions on the matter off of the official suspension and official sort of story that comes out. Because right now, there's just a lot of speculating is really what it comes down to. And
yeah, I think to talking about the speculation, Robbie, it's so interesting. I'm actually on the Boston Celtics Bleacher Report site, so they have everything. They have Twitter, they have Bleacher Report, they have everybody who's on there. They have basically everybody that that's important saying something. We got Tom Westerholm. This has nothing to do with has to do with today, but it doesn't have to do with anything new. He basically says, and I want to quote him because I think this is really interesting. I want to talk about this too, because I was really, really, actually, you could say I was pissed off. I was really pissed off at Twitter today. I actually went out of Twitter because I was sick and tired of seeing the Twitter feeds that were on there. It says, I'm not saying the Celtics are blameless or anything, but given that people on Twitter have spent all day posting pictures and names of women around the organization, maybe you can see why they aren't reacting immediately. So they may be waiting until things kind of die down a little bit before they go to the next step and announce what the next announcement is. Because all day, and I've been watching it all freaking day, there was one that I actually had to respond to because the guy put a picture that looked like a staffer on the Celtics. He put it on his Twitter feed and he said, "Oh, now I understand why Ime did this." Something to that effect. I don't think he realizes that that's actually libel and slander, and if he could actually get sued for that, because all they have to do is take a screenshot, and they could say, "This guy just slandered me. I didn't do anything. I had nothing to do with this. I work for the ticket counter. I didn't do anything. This is bull crap." And as people did that, I saw cartoons. I saw cartoons of Ime's head over different kinds of things today. It was absolutely disgusting what I saw today. I understand people can joke around. I understand this freedom of speech. I get that. But I don't think people understand that there's a human element that goes along with this.
Yeah, these are human beings.
I'm not, believe me, Robbie, I'm not a bleeding heart. I'm just saying there's a human element here, and you got to respect that.
Yeah, these are human beings, and it's like, and I saw the same thing, and I saw it's interesting. You and I were talking about this before we came on air. Is I saw one. Now this was clearly, at least to me, was clearly a joke, parody, whatever you want to call it, of somebody basically saying, "Oh, he's being suspended because he slept with Anna Horford, Al Horford's sister." And she even responds like, "Listen, I know you're joking, but now I've been getting messages about this all day, and like you need to remember there's other people, like remember we're people here. I mean, like come on." So I totally get and agree with what you're saying. I mean, I think we need to let the facts come out and let the facts be what they're going to be, rather than, especially with that human element aspect to, rather than diving on to like, oh, could it be this person, could be this person, just throwing things out there when really none of us has a clue, because we're not, we're nowhere near the inside of this. So,
and we also may never know, and that's fine with me. I don't need to know who it was. We don't need to know as a society who it was, because that just doesn't make any sense. I don't need to know who it was. I really don't. I just think that it's, I just think that the jokes that are out there, the all the stuff that's out there is just, it just gets to the point where it's nasty. It just gets to that point where it just gets really, really nasty. And I don't want to see that stuff. I just think it's unfair to the people that their pictures are on there, that their lives, this is their livelihood. They work for the Celtics. They're ecstatic that they work for the Celtics. And you're putting pictures on of staffers that may or may not be in this particular kind of story.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any sense. It's just not right, and I think it's important that we say it and that we talk about that too. I know it happens. Believe me. In the day and age that we're in, I get it. It's all about social media. It's all about how many clicks you get. It's all about how much did and people say things, and people say things just so they can get clicks. I
Yeah.
get it. Totally
Yeah.
get it. Totally understand. That's kind of how you make your social media.
It's how it's it's this day and age in the sort of the whole idea, even with reporters. I mean, it's sort of the race to be the first one to break news, and sometimes in that race to break news, you basically cut corners of fact checking or whatever you want to call it, and then it could come back to bite you in the behind later on. But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, people just they want those clicks, they want the likes, they want the 15 minutes or seconds, whatever you want to call it, of fame, and they don't think, and they just sort of go off their gut, so to speak, and then all of a sudden it's like, especially if they're not right, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute, like maybe we should have thought twice about that. So I totally get where you're coming from, and it's you could not be more spot on with that assessment, for sure. What I did want to ask you though, which I'm curious to hear your answer, is, and obviously again, it may be a hard question to answer because we don't know the full story. We know what we know right now based on what has been reported. But based on that, if what has been reported turns out to sort of be the facts of the matter, and again, more may come out when the official punishment is announced. But if he is in fact suspended for a year, do you? I mean, I hate to say, do you agree or disagree? But like we were just talking about the fact that it just seems like such a harsh punishment. I guess my question is it a harsh punishment? I guess that's sort of what my question boils down to. Is it? What are your thoughts on the punishment itself, if in fact it holds up, and based on what we know now, and what could come out? I don't know. But I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Yeah, well, there are rules, and then there are punishments for those rules. So it depends on if the Celtics had a rule that said you're not supposed to have relations with any staffers, and you could get up to a year suspension in doing it. Then I guess I have to agree with it because it's their rule. They do it on purpose. I mean, obviously they do it on purpose because it's a terrible workplace if you have that kind of thing happen. It's just really bad. It gets really bad. So I understand why they have the rule, but it's their rule to try to figure out. I'm sure that. I mean, do I think it's kind of harsh? Yeah, I do, but we don't know the whole thing. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't. Well, we're going to find out what the penalty is, but my bet is that we're not going to find out any more info unless there's a leak, which there could be down the road. We're not going to find out any more info. We're going to find out that there was a broken rule, and this is because of this particular rule and how we put things together in this organization. We have a zero tolerance for this, and this is what the punishment's going to be. Period. That's it. So, I mean, do I agree with it? If it's their rule, whether I agree or not, it's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
Again, were there other factors? Now, that's kind of what you do. And I don't know anything about. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know anything about the court system. But I did study a little bit of it, which doesn't make me an expert at all. So it's just my opinion. Is that sometimes when you do something wrong, there are degrees in which you do it. So it could be a first degree, a second degree, third degree, fourth degree, whatever it is, misdemeanor versus felony, that kind of thing. I'm not talking about that with him. That's nothing to do with him, with Ime. Mind you, it has nothing to do with Ime at all. The saying is that they're different degrees. If they felt that this was not just egregious, but hey, listen, we warned him, and we may not know this at all. They may say, this is what it is, and this is punishment. That's it. We have no more comment. This is an internal thing. That's what they're going to say. This is internal. We had an issue. We solved the issue. Period. We're not talking about it. I'm just telling you that because there are confidentiality things that are going on here, so it's very possible that they may shut it down and nobody's going to know. Later on, we might find out, but right now, I don't think we're going to know. We will know what his punishment is, but I don't think we're going to know anything else. But again, if they sat down, and they have been sitting down probably for the last 24 hours, maybe longer, and they say, look, it was egregious. We warned him. He had 2 or 3 warnings. He kept doing it. There was some intimidation. There was some fear that if this woman didn't do this, that she would lose her job, all this kind of stuff. If this comes out, then I would say, okay, you know what? Maybe this guy doesn't deserve to be on the team and be a head coach.
Right.
I don't think we're going to know that. I don't think we're going to find that information out, at least when we find out the punishment.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do I agree or disagree? I don't know all the facts. I don't know enough of the facts to agree or disagree. Do I agree that he should be punished? Yes. If it's a rule and he broke it, yeah, he should be punished. If it's just this, do I think he deserves a year? No. If it was egregious and he did other things and there were other things that were said and done and that kind of thing, well, then there you go. There's your degrees of things that may happen. So
I think we need more information before we. Yeah, I think we need more.
Yeah, that's really the answer.
Make the final judgment. Yeah. I mean, I think you're 100% on that. So there's sort of two more sort of questions / points I want to sort of go over with all this. And the first one is, how, before I get into sort of my big final overarching question about Ime specifically, I wanted to get sort of your take, because again, you are sort of the basketball guy, which is on this show, which is why I kind of trust your knowledge and your thoughts on this particular topic. Is like,
that's why I'm wearing my Bruins hat.
Exactly.
Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
But no, my question is, like, how is this going to impact the team? Like, obviously, I'm very curious, how, especially with training camp starting up, just days away, all of a sudden this breaks, and just, this was a team with pretty high expectations after literally making it, to 2 wins away from winning an NBA title last year. What, just plainly and simply, was the impact going to be on this team in your eyes?
Well, I think there's a couple of things there, Robbie. I think it's a great question. I think there's a couple of things. When you're talking about the players, the players love him.
Yeah.
Okay. The players love him. That's the first thing. The reason that they were in the position that they were in last year, all the playoffs, including getting to the finals, the reason is, and you can tell that this happened, what I'm about to say, there was a player buy-in. They had to buy into this guy and what he was about to do, because if they didn't, their record would have reflected starting before January. Remember their record before January?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Going into January, the record sucked.
Yeah.
Okay. They bought in. Starting that month, they bought in, and look where they went. From January to June, they were incredible. Yeah. They bought in. 100%. Now, the two things that go on here is if the players either agree or disagree with kind of what he did. How do they feel about what they did, about what he did? If they feel that this was egregious and they know about the warnings and they know about this kind of stuff, and they may even know what happened. They even been around when it happened. Who knows? I don't know when this happened. I don't know. If they are in that realm of, I don't like what he did, blah, blah. They're going to buy into whatever punishment is there. Now, if they don't believe in it, or they don't know all the facts, they were just told something happened, and this is what happened, but they weren't told all the facts, and all of a sudden he's suspended for a year, and now we have a not a new coach, but we somebody else coaches for a year, and what the hell? Then what's going to happen to that team is going to be totally different than if they were buying into him. So those two things can happen. Now, the example I'm going to bring up, I think, is a perfect example. Bruce Cassidy. Bruce Cassidy is a perfect example. Yeah. Speaking of Boston Red Sox, right? Sure, Boston Bruins. There we go. Is a perfect example of, we all heard when he first became coach that all the players loved him. Everybody loved him. Bergeron loved him. Krejci loved him. Chara, everybody. But what we come to find out, and we were like, I remember doing a sports blitz going, why did Cassidy get fired here? Yeah. They loved him. They bought into his system. They bought into him. They loved him. He was a player's coach. He was this, he was that. Why did they get rid of him? This is so stupid. And then we find out later on, Bergeron had problems. Brad Marchand had problems with him. Other guys had problems with him. And now we're finding out, if they had problems, well, maybe we should go. So we don't know this yet. We don't have any idea whether the players, the only thing we know is the players bought in last year. They bought into a system. They bought into what he was doing. That's what we know. We don't know anything else. We don't know if the players actually like him, although we do know before he was hired as the coach here, we do know that there were some players that were asked, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, were asked, hey, should we get this guy? What do you think? Brad Stevens just wanted to know what some of the guys thought. And they were like, yeah, let's do this. This is great. E-Man's awesome. And we had played with him and this and that. I was on San Antonio, or I knew him from this and I knew him from that. I knew him from the Olympics, and I knew this. Awesome. Okay, so they bought in last year. We don't know what they think about him now.
No.
We have no idea. No clue.
Yeah.
So it could basically go either way.
Yeah.
I was watching.
And by the way, can I just say before you get into that point, can I just say one thing? Because this was bothering me today reading this. This isn't a current player, but more a former player that sort of spoke out once the news broke. Enes Kanter needs to shut the hell up. Like, I don't know if you saw this at all.
You mean Enes Freedom?
Enes Freedom Kanter. He needs to shut up. Like, just shut up, Enes. Like, the reason why you didn't get playing time last year was because you suck at basketball. Like, let's just put that out there. So just shut the hell up about
with the rant.
Karma's a bitch because you didn't play me. I was just biding my time till Karma came back and bit you in the ass. Blah blah blah. Shut up. You suck at basketball. It's nothing to do with political leanings or anything. You're not good. So that's why you didn't play. So he needs to shut the hell up. Anyway, continue with what you were saying. I just
no, absolutely. Sometimes
the train of thought sort of brought that into my mind. So I just had to get it off my chest. But anyway, you continue.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and of course, sometimes people and players, they speak out of turn and they just do it because they have a voice. So it doesn't matter whether you suck or not, you still have a voice. Paul Pierce said today, I don't know if you heard this, but Paul Pierce said, well, he should be fined and not suspended. So who knows? But we love Paul, so it's not a big deal. And Paul helped us win a championship in 2007, 2008. So as far as I'm concerned, he can say whatever he wants, and I don't really care. So that's all good. And Enes Kanter's just, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
I bring up the Bruce Cassidy because it's the same. It's not the same, but it is the way players feel about their coach. I don't know. I don't have any idea whether the players are for him now or against him, or were for him beforehand and now against him. They know that he was one of the, he was the coach that brought him to the finals. Now, I was listening to ESPN today, and I can't remember who it was. I'll remember in a minute, but I can't remember. He played for Indiana. It wasn't. I can't remember the player. I will remember.
Wasn't Reggie Miller?
It was not Reggie Miller. No, it was a point guard.
Jackson? Mark Jackson?
Yeah, it may have been Mark Jackson. I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
he got on and he said a couple things. Well, he said a lot, but basically what came out of that, what he was saying is that, and actually Bob B. Smooth brought it up this afternoon too. He said he thinks coaches are overrated in the NBA. Players go and they play.
Very valid
Players
point,
go and they play. There's a system. If you work the system, you win. You win the game. If you don't work the system, you won't win the game. Play defense, you'll probably win. If you don't play defense, you won't win. So again, it's one of those things where this strategy, and as long as you do the strategy, it's all good. So that's what B. Smooth said. So this guy, who was a former NBA player, said, I'm not worried about this. They can put any coach in there they want. I'm not worried about these guys at all. These guys have a great team. They have a great starting five. Well, somewhat. When we get Robert Williams the third back. But again, great starting five. One of the best starting fives in the league. They got Malcolm Brogdon, which everybody's like screaming that this was the best thing that God ever created, and I think it's a really, really good thing because he's definitely going to help out from Indiana. So it's like, I'm not worried about these guys. Well, why do I care about this? So I think it's the team's reaction either way, Robbie, is going to be huge.
Right.
That's all I can say. Is that it's either going to go one way or it's going to go the other.
Yeah.
I think some of it has to do with he's obviously going to be suspended, and the thought is that it's going to be the whole season. Don't know that. We don't know that for sure. It hasn't come out yet.
No.
That's what Woj says, and he could be right. I don't know. It depends on who they bring in, or do they already have somebody there? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's one of those things. The team reaction is going to be whether they're going to do well, or they're just going to be like, oh, we don't have Ime. This sucks. This is terrible. We're not going to win any games. Blah, blah. Or they're just going to go out and play like a team. And it doesn't matter about the coach. We're going to go to the NBA Finals again, and we're going to freaking win the freaking thing. Okay, right. So I guess that's what it depends on. Team's reaction is going to be huge.
Oh, I completely agree. And again, I think you hit the nail right on the head when you said, it remains to be seen because we really don't know until this team is actually out on a court playing basketball how they're going to respond. It's one of those things where you can't know. And I think it's going to be very interesting, like you said, to see, which way they go in terms of, does it sort of ignite a fire under them and then they go and play amazing basketball in his absence, or do they use it kind of as a crutch, so to speak, and all of a sudden they're playing sort of mediocre ball and having issues with it and all, just not giving it 100% because they kind of are feeling whatever they may be feeling. But I think it really remains to be seen, and so I think all we can kind of do at this point is kind of wait wait and see what exactly comes of it. But the final question on this topic that I wanted to ask you, Doug, and this kind of sums up this whole storyline for me. And again, it may be a more speculative question at this moment than anything, but I kind of am curious to hear your gut, your gut answer on this. Has Ime Udoka coached his last game in Boston?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. I've heard speculation from all sides. I heard a speculation that if he didn't resign, that they were going to do something about it. That wasn't true. So that was not true. That was him trying to decide whether he was going to resign or not. that is a really, really great question. I really don't. The only speculation I can say is that because he's not going to resign, I think he's going to fight for the job. I think he's going to chalk it up to, and he may have a press conference down the road. He may say, you know what? I screwed up. I'm human. We all do. I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And I want to coach the Boston Celtics. And if he serves his time, wait, wasn't there another Boston manager or coach that actually had to serve some time?
I was thinking about it. I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
And then actually came back.
Oh, you mean
would that be, Robbie, again?
Alex Cora? Yeah.
Alex Cora.
Yeah.
Yes. And how long was his suspension?
1 year.
Oh, okay. All right. So we actually have a little precedent here. And the fact is that I don't know. Do I think he's a good coach? Yeah, I think he's a good coach. Do I think he's a great human being right now? Well, I don't know. I don't know about it. I don't know from the hole in the wall.
Well, to that point, and again, I don't know if you necessarily. I mean, obviously, it is a precedent in the sense that what happened to Cora kind of, at least on its face, kind of seems similar to what's happening here. But I could almost make the argument that Cora's antics that caused the suspension, in terms of on the field or on the court stuff, may have actually been a little bit worse, because Cora's suspension was based off of actual cheating, stealing signs, being part of a scheme, to use video to steal signs, which could impact actual gameplay. Ime, this is completely off the court stuff. So in terms of potentially using that as precedent, again, we don't know what's going to happen.
We think it is. We don't know if there's anything there that has Ime saying, while he's in his office, saying, you have to do this with me or whatever. We don't know any of that. And that's if he's out of the garden and he's at his apartment or his house or whatever, and he's doing what he does, that's his private stuff. But once he brings it into the court, it's not good. So, and we don't know that yet. But you're right. Cora was a different situation. But the reason I mentioned it was because Cora did have a year, and then
absolutely.
So there is that small possibility. Do I think my gut feeling is it's hard. It's really hard to answer that question. But my gut feeling is that
I know it may not be an answerable question at this point.
Well, I'm going to answer it, and I'm either going to be right or wrong. But I'm going to answer it in the fact that I am looking at information that I don't have, and that's kind of a weird way of saying that. The only information I'm looking at is that he broke a rule, but he's also getting a tremendous amount of a punishment for this, which means that I think that there were extenuating circumstances. I think there were other circumstances that we don't know and we may never know about it. I think that Ime Udoka is done with Boston. That's my thought because of what we think the suspension might be. And again, I might change that answer depending on what the suspension actually is.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
that's what my feeling is. And I don't want to say that necessarily because I do think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
Got them first year, got them to the finals. I mean, the players got them to the finals, but yes, he was part of that. Bought into the system, and he was a big part of that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going off. My answer is based on the information I have.
Yeah. And I mean, that's all you can really go on.
What about you, Robbie? What do you think?
I know. My gut answer would be to agree with you and say that yes, I think he is done. He is done in Boston again. I mean, I really don't know. Again, I don't have enough information to to really expand too much on that, but just my gut is telling me based on what we've learned so far and just the extent of the punishment that I just have this feeling that this may be leading to the end of the road for him. But I also think it kind of remains to be seen. As you and I were both saying, there's a million different ways that this could turn out, and it's going to be very interesting these coming days and weeks and months and even the next year.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I'm sorry. I just wanted to give everybody an idea of who they're thinking about replacing him with, at least right now for the next year. Is a guy named Joe Mazzulla. He was one of the finalists. He was one of the finalists for the Utah Jazz job. He's 34 years old. So if they say you're the interim coach for the year, he will be the youngest coach in NBA history. That is right now. He's been an assistant with the Celtics since 2019. He was with the Maine Red Claws as an assistant also. He played college ball at West Virginia. He is from the state of Rhode Island. And he was a head coach for Division II. I believe it was at Virginia. So he was a head coach. I believe that it was Virginia. It was Division II. So, and again, I'm just getting that off of wherever I'm getting it off of. So if I'm wrong about the school there, I apologize. But it's just that's what was out there. So that was what was out there. So you never know if it's right or wrong. So but yeah. So that and again, he was one of the several of the assistant coaches who developed this defensive system, and also helped Ime develop the system, this defensive system, and be able to bring them to the finals for last year. So a lot of the insiders are saying, "Oh my God, don't put Joe in there. Don't put Joe in there." Joe's been in trouble before too. Not that it was in college, a couple of incidents in college, nothing too serious, but it's one of those things where I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to get him. There's a couple reports out there that they're going to try to get Frank Vogel to come in.
I saw that. I did see that earlier.
And at least help out. He may not be the head coach, but he'll help out for the year. Somebody who's got experience, somebody who's got experience coaching that could help, kind of Joe kind of get into it a little bit and be there as a sounding board and teach him things and stuff like that. Again, we don't know this yet, but the speculation is that that's what's going to happen. But I wanted to mention that because there's some people that may not know that.
Yep, absolutely. And as we were saying before, there's still a lot that remaining to be seen. And it's just going to be sort of taking it one step at a time, seeing what the next days and weeks and months bring in terms of this saga. But definitely a wild 24 hours for the Boston sports landscape and for the Celtics in general. So a lot more remains to be seen on the story, and we definitely will be staying on top of it here at the Sports Blitz, and we'll definitely be discussing any other, basically anything else that transpires on this as we go along here. But I didn't want to start to transition into the end portion of our episode, which we all love so much. And if you missed last episode, we kind of alluded to the fact that, I know Doug is going to be sort of giving us a final thought in just a minute, and I'm going to be kind of doing this new sort of fall season specific end segment where I sort of go over my favorite / fantasy football recap. So some good stuff there since we've been off for at least a couple weeks here. So Doug, I didn't want to kick it over to you for what your final thought is for tonight's episode.
To tell you the truth, because this was breaking news and this was something that throughout the day I was listening and writing down a whole bunch of things so we could talk about it and get it out there. I really didn't have a chance to get a final thought in, except that it would be nice. This is my only final thought that I could think of, is it would be nice for me to actually have time for a final thought. So that's actually what my final thought is that there's so much going on. I'm trying to see what team they're going to get on the court because of these injuries, and all of a sudden we got Ime and the problem and this and that and everything. It's just been a little crazy. So I think my final thought is that everybody has not a breaking point, but everybody has a limit to where they can go, and once you hit that limit, please remember to relax and de-stress somehow. Go for a walk, or it's still nice out. Well, it wasn't today. It's still relative to temperatures, relatively, still pretty good. So go for a walk. I play PlayStation. Go for a walk with my wife and hang out, and watch some TV. Try to get yourself, with all this stuff that's going on, try to get yourself into that realm of taking care of yourself. That's my only final thought for today. So I'm going to throw it over to you. I know you don't have a final thought, but I know you have your fantasy stuff that you like to talk about. So I'm just going to throw it right over to you, Robbie.
So, Doug, I am going to kind of lead the witness here a little bit into a final thought, because knowing you, I definitely did not want to leave this episode without getting just your even just very quick thought on the retirement. I know you're wearing your Bruins hat, on the retirement announced a couple days ago from Big Z himself, Zdeno Chara. So I did want to kind of lead the witness here a little bit and just ask, even if quickly, just for your thoughts or thought on him calling it a career with the Bruins, nonetheless, signing a one-day contract to retire as a Bruin.
Now, I do want to tell you, I just noticed a note right by my speaker over here, and I just looked at it, and it actually said "Final thought, Zdeno Chara" right on it. So I'm like, oh my goodness! See, I even wrote it down because so many things are going on, but I never even said it. So, I think it's kind of bittersweet. I think all around they did the right thing. He spent 20. He says 25, and then the report was 24. So I'm not really sure what it was, but it's been close to 25 years.
24 and a half. It was
24 and a half in the league.
in
the league, and he actually, obviously he got a cup with us in 2011, and obviously a great guy. And I didn't like. I thought they should have kept him, at least for the few years that he, was kind of just hanging out. I thought they should have kept him. Keep him on the bench, get him in there. Let him do his 10, 15 minutes, and he still could have helped you out. And I just thought it was wrong that they got rid of him. So I think it was a class act that he came back and signed a one-day contract and he retired at Bruin. Yes, absolutely. I think that was awesome. And I think he's an awesome guy. I've never met him, just from reports. I wish I did.
Neither have I, for that matter. So,
wish I totally did, but just a great player, a person that you knew if he was on your team, you had not just a fighting chance to win, but you were probably going to win that game. And just it was great watching him for the time that he was here. I snuck every once in a while and watched the NHL Network when he was on the Capitals or can't remember any other teams he was on, but I remember specifically watching a few games when he first got onto the Capitals. I remember watching a couple of games or 2 or 3 games just to see if he was the same player, and he seemed to have slowed down a lot, but he seemed to be the same player. But again, I think it's great. I think it was the right thing to do, and congratulations, Z, on an incredible career and from the Sports Blitz, and good luck in your retirement.
all right. So, first of all, I absolutely agree with everything you just said, and I also wish Zdeno Chara the best in his career. But we do have breaking news to the topic that we were just talking about. The Celtics have officially announced Ime has been suspended for 1 year. Literally, it broke. The Woj just popped up on my screen.
I got Shams.
Yeah, I've got the Celtics statement right here in front of me. I'm just going to read it very quickly. I'm not going to do. I am foregoing the Robbie's fantasy football favorite football recap for one episode, and instead doing a final thought where I read the Celtics statement about the suspension. The Boston Celtics announced today that the team has suspended head coach Ime Udoka for the 2022-23 season for violations of team policies. A decision about his future with the Celtics beyond the season will be made at a later date. The suspension takes effect immediately. And Ime Udoka actually did put out a statement as well.
Yeah, I have it right here too.
That we'll read very quickly. Actually, Doug, do you want? Actually,
yeah, I got it.
Why don't you read his statement? I don't want to.
I got it. His statement. His statement reads: "I want to apologize to our players, fans, the entire Celtics organization, and my family for letting them down. I am sorry for putting the team in this difficult situation, and I accept the team's decision. Out of respect for everyone involved, I will have no further comment."
So there you go.
That's right.
Ime Udoka officially suspended for the 2022-23 season. Wow. Even though we kind of saw this coming, just to hear it be official, just sort of leaves you looking for words almost. But a lot more to come on. I know we've talked about this at length, so a lot more to come on future episodes of the Sports Blitz. Hey, listen, folks. First of all, if you have thoughts about this Ime Udoka situation, please drop us a comment here on YouTube. We want to hear from you, your take on the matter, what your thoughts are on what we said tonight. We would, or even just anything about the show in general. We always would love to hear from you guys. So please, feel free to drop us a comment. And while you're at it, please like and subscribe. Ring that bell, as Doug always says, because we love the support, and we could use a lot more of it. So please, I can't emphasize enough, we would love to have you guys subscribe and like and ring the bell, tell your friends, all that good stuff. In terms of where you can find us, obviously we're here on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter. We're all over the place, and we're just so happy that we get to come on here and make these episodes for you guys. So we appreciate all the support. Appreciate our two sponsors, Diamond Organizing and Wes Woodson. As always, their links will be in the description. Appreciate Marvel at the Movies and On a Couch Talking Sports and our buddy Kyle as part of our YouTube trifecta. And again, appreciate you guys, the viewers and listeners. And I appreciate Doug for joining me every week, or whenever we could get together to do these episodes here on the Sports Blitz.
Thanks, Robbie. I'm not sure if I'm crying because of what you said or because of Udoka.
kind of a mixed bag there. I'm trying to uplift at the end because of all that we talked about tonight.
Gotta uplift.
Yeah. But that does wrap up this week's edition of the Sports Blitz. As always, for Doug, I am Robbie.
That's Robbie. I'm Doug.
I am. And until next time, we will see you next time, as I should say. I think I messed up the wording there. But anyway, we will see you next time here on the Sports Blitz. And thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
See ya.